Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. So glad you're here. I'm Tall Mike. Anyways, what's going on in the markets today? Well, it's Friday. We made it to the end of the week. Market, Dow's up about 40. NASDAQ's kind of flat. S&P sitting around 45.50. Okay, so what's really going on here? Well, I think it's a very dangerous time to be in the stock market on the long side. I really do. The reason is because the fear of missing out is greater than the fear of losing out. Nobody has any fear that this market's going to go down, but this fear of missing out, people want to get in this market. Now, in the last couple of days, as in yesterday, the day before, some of these leading stocks are starting to roll over. Some of these leading stocks like Meta, like Nvidia, like Tesla, like Amazon, they're starting to roll over. Now, all the major averages are still above the 20-day moving average, so we're still in a topping out process, but I think it's getting to be a very dangerous time right now. Very dangerous time to be in the stock market. What some of the smarter people are doing are putting their money into treasuries. 3-month treasury gets you 5.5% right now. Now, you got a lot of risk in this stock market because there's extreme greed, which results in extreme risk. I would take some off, sit back, wait, and see what happens. This is just my opinion. A lot of people think we're in that new bull market, that we're going to hit those new highs anytime soon. Well, it's possible. That's just not my view. My view is that we're going to come back in. All right, let's get over to the real estate market and talk about that for a little bit. What do we got going on there? Well, they came out with the sales numbers. You know what? The sales numbers, the sales volume is down again. Month over month, we fell about 3%. Now we're down about 23% for the year. Now, what's interesting, though, is prices. Prices are still down year over year. Down only about 1%, so kind of flat for the year, but still going down. Now, there's no inventory right now, so you would think that the prices would be going up. What's going to happen when the inventory comes on? Well, the market's going to come in. It's going to come down. But, Mike, you've been saying this for so long. We don't believe you anymore, and that's fine. I don't care if you believe me. This is just my opinion, just my viewpoint. Now, what I do want to point out is in 2007, 2008, the great financial crisis. All right, what happened there? Well, the sales volume of the houses started to go down. The sales volume started to go down. For how many months did it go down before prices started to go down? It went down for 16 straight months on sales volume. And then the prices came down. Now, what are we doing right now? We're going down. We're in 21 straight months of sales volume going down, and prices will soon follow. Once again, this is just my take. Your take may be that houses are going to double from here. You may believe what the realtors are telling you. They're telling you to get out there and buy now before it's too late. There is no inventory and home prices are going to skyrocket. Doesn't that sound like a typical realtor? Look, I'm a real estate broker. I got to be real with you. Don't buy into that. Don't buy into that. Look, and here's the other thing they're saying. If you're waiting for prices to come down, you're going to be a renter your whole life. You're never going to be able to get in this market. Look, they need you. They need you to come and buy the houses. Otherwise, the houses will go down. I think if you're patient, you sit back. I mean, most of the damage is going to be done in 2024. You wait out a year from now, most of the damage is going to be done. There will be bargains everywhere. But right now, inventory's low. It's not a good time to buy a house when inventory's low. You want to buy when there's just a glut of inventory on the market, and I think that's actually coming. Now, during the pandemic, I'll admit that home prices went up 50% roughly, rough numbers, maybe 40%, maybe 50%, right around there during the pandemic. But my question for you is, and I'd like you to leave me the answer in the comment, did home prices really go up by 50%? Or or did your dollar become worth 50% less? Now, this is a big problem in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that this is probably one of the largest problems the United States has. You see, we used to be what's called a wealth-based economy, meaning we created stuff, we created wealth, we produced things, we manufactured things. That's not us anymore. We're now a debt-based economy. We borrow money, we work the financial system so that we can, have a high standard of living without making anything. So we went from a wealth-based economy to a debt-based economy. Now, a lot of people, they think their wealth is shooting straight up. Look at the stock market. Look at the stock market. It's going up. And a lot of people believe that. They believe that they're getting wealthy. Well, my question once again is, are you really getting wealthy, or is your dollar becoming worth less and less? Well, now I'm going to pull out my high-tech graphics here. I know all you love my high-tech graphics, so I'm going to pull some of them out. All right, so this is the purchasing power of the dollar. Now, this isn't my opinion. This is right off of the Federal Reserve, their website. You can pull this up, consumer purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. All right, now when the Fed started back here in 1913, till now, the U.S. dollar went from $1 down to 3 cents of purchasing power. Okay, now that could explain why I do not like the Federal Reserve. Now you kind of see this chart kind of tails off there at the end. All right, so you think it's not as bad now. Now we're going to talk about that in a second. But what we went from was a gold-based, a gold standard back here through this period, and then we switched to what would be called goldbacks, the currency backed by gold, our silver certificates, if you will. All right, so we went from the gold standard to the goldbacks and the silver certificates down to the fiat system. We're in a fiat system right now. Nothing backing our currency up, nothing standing behind it except for the confidence that you think that someone else will take the currency. And soon we're going to be going to the central bank digital currency, the CBDC. They started the FedNow. FedNow is now in action right now. I think it started today or yesterday. But anyways, the CBDC is coming to the United States. Now, this is a terrible thing, gets rid of all your freedom. They can turn your money off just like that. If you donate maybe to the wrong political party, they'll shut your money off. They'll just close it up. That's what they did in Canada with people that donated to the truckers. They got their bank accounts shut off. The CBDC coming to the United States. That's the future. It's a terrible thing. I hope we have a revolt. I don't know if the American people are strong enough to revolt anymore. I haven't seen much action. Most people just lay down and take whatever they're going to give us. But okay, so I want to talk about, once again, my high-tech graphics here. So this is a chart of how much purchasing power your dollar has lost from 1980 till now. This is what's happening to your purchasing power, okay? The dollar is getting wiped out. It's becoming worth less and less. So we've lost, just since 1980, your dollar has lost 75% of its purchasing power. This is a chart right off the Federal Reserve. I'm not making anything up. People think that Tall Mike tells tall tales. Well, this is right off the Federal Reserve. This is no hocus pocus magic stuff. You see, your dollar is just, it's just terrible what they're doing to our currency, right? Okay, now who's doing this? Well, it's not me. It's not you. Let me think who's doing it. Well, it's the politician. Now, the politicians do not have your best interest at heart. They want to stay in power. And the way they stay in power is to print more and more money and tell you all the good stuff they're doing with this. Well, what it's doing, it makes our dollars worth less and less money, right? It makes them worth less and less money. Now, the last high-tech graphics, again, I'm going high-tech graphics. Now, this is from 2005 till now. From 2005 till now. This is what the dollar's doing. Now, you'll notice in all these charts, the dollar's going straight down. From 2005 till now, it's going straight down, right? It's lost about 40% of its purchasing power just since 2005. Now they're going to replace the dollar. The dollar's going away. It's going to become completely worthless, and they're going to replace the dollar with the central bank digital currency. Now, if you look at just in the last few years here, this right at the end here from 2020 to 2023, you can see how it's gone down. We've lost about 25% of our purchasing power just in the last 3 years, let's call it. Now that's terrible, right? I mean, but what that really means is when you see this inflation, rising up, it's really a tax, right? It's a tax on everything. It's a tax on every dollar you have in the bank gets taxed, okay? So it gets wiped out. Just in the last 3 years, 25% of the purchasing power of the money you have saved, it's lost 25%. That's a 25% tax on the money you have saved. But it's also a 25% tax on the money you make, the income, right? And it's a 25% tax on the money you spend. Okay, so there's, now I know. The government tells you we're only going to tax people that make over $400,000 a year. Look, inflation is the worst tax you can have. It's taxing the poor people, putting them so they can't eat, so they can't buy food. The elderly people on the fixed income. It's taxing them at an exorbitant rate. They're not going to be able to survive. Okay, so this inflation tax that we've had for the last 3 years runs about 8% a year. Let's just call it 25% for the last 3 years, and that's a very conservative number because I really think we're at about 25% just in the last year. If you look at food prices, I mean, it's really terrible, right? But so the dollar is losing all of its purchasing power. I mean, that's what's happening. Now, is your house really gone up that much? Or has the dollar really just became worth much less, worth less and less and less? And now it's only got 3 cents left since we started the Federal Reserve. We started the Federal Reserve in 1913 until now. So 110 years, they've wiped out 97% of your purchasing power. Now, people get upset because I pick on the Federal Reserve. But, Mike, it couldn't be the fault of the Federal Reserve. Well, look, we've lost 97% in 110 years. Now, if you go back to 100 years before we had the Federal Reserve, what happened to the dollar in those 100 years? It actually gained 50%. 50%. Now look so you could go out and buy 50% more stuff. But in the 100 years before the Federal Reserve, wages also went up. So not only was your dollar stronger, 50% more, your wages went up. So you had a really good standard of living. Then the Federal Reserve started in 1913 and they wiped out 97% of your purchasing power. Without the Federal Reserve, we would still be the strongest country in the world. I don't believe we're the strongest country in the world anymore. We're the biggest debtor nation in the world, and maybe we have the most guns and nuclear weapons. Sure, we can go out and blow up countries, and we've weaponized the dollar, right? So the world hates us right now, okay? So we put the sanctions on Putin, took the oligarchs' money. So we weaponized the dollar as a political weapon, right? And in Canada, they started that when they donated the money to the truckers. You got your bank account shut down. You got reduced to zero. You got canceled. They can wipe that out. And that's why the United States wants to bring in that CBDC so they can cancel anybody at any time for any reasons. Now, once again, I hope there's a revolt. Do I think there's going to be? No, I don't think there's going to be. But the rest of the world wants to get away from the dollar because we made the mistake, and I will stick to that, we made the mistake of weaponizing the dollar. Okay, so we got this weapon and we can use it against any country we want. Right now we're using it against Russia, but let's say we don't like China. They got over $1 trillion of our bonds, but we can weaponize the dollar. We can weaponize it against people. This is terrible because it gets people they want out of the dollar. So the BRIC nations, now they're starting their own currency, so call it. Okay, they want to go on a gold standard. Now, a lot of people want the gold standard to come back in. Texas, for example, they're bringing the gold standard in for a state currency. I like the gold standard. Now, a lot of you young people, but Mike, we want a Bitcoin standard. Well, Bitcoin is also a fiat currency. Nothing backing it. It's a fiat system, right? I actually would like something backing up my my currency. I don't care if it's you back it with gold, you back it with wheat, soybeans, corn, back it with something real, back it with oil, back it with something real. Right now we're in the fiat system where nothing's backed, and you see what the politicians are doing. They're just destroying us, destroying our country. They have to be voted out. We have to get rid of these people. I don't think you should vote for any politician that doesn't agree to never spend the dollar that we don't have. Right now, think about that. We have this huge debt problem. 32 trillion in debt, 100 trillion in unfunded liabilities. What are we doing? We're spending $3 trillion more than we're taking in. So far this year, first half, we spent over $1.5 trillion more than came in. We're on average right now, we're just have this debt thing. We're just going to go to the moon until this blows up, until the dollar goes to zero. Now they're going to reset it with the CBDC, and this is scary stuff. Scary stuff. Yeah, you're getting rich. I'm getting wealthy. I'm in the stock market. I'm making all this money. Look at my house. I can sell it for $1 trillion. That $1 trillion isn't going to buy you anything after a while. They will reduce the dollar to zero. When the dollar goes to zero, how much money do you really have? Well, you can sell your house for $1 trillion, and then you can maybe go buy a loaf of bread, some milk, and some eggs, and that's about it. We see this in other countries. No country has survived hyperinflation, and people go, but Mike, we have the reserve currency. We can't hyperinflate. Now, granted, the reserve currency has never hyperinflated before, but the people that had the reserve currency had never been as stupid as our politicians are, have never weaponized the dollar, have never printed it into oblivion. You see the purchasing power going away. I mean, it's a straight down line. You can't make this stuff up. This is right off the Federal Reserve. They're admitting that they're doing this. Look, they have to be stopped, right? I mean, you can just end the country now, have the dollar go to zero, and we'll just trade whatever we have left to trade. Now, I know it's Friday, and I get carried away on Fridays. I get in a little mood to rant now and then. But anyways, everybody, after you heard this, give me the thumbs up and get out there. Have a great weekend. Hit the subscribe button so I can talk to you next week. Bye-bye now.